According to Morningstar's research on fund managers by gender, the percentage of female portfolio managers remains consistently low at a global level. Here in Canada, only 11% of fund managers are women. Today I'm joined by Kim Shannon, who falls within this small group. Kim is the President and Co-Chief Investment Officer of Sionna Investment Managers. Kim, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, Kim, why do you think the level of portfolio managers, which are women, is still so low?
I think it's a multitude of reasons. First off, I just want to say I don't think there's any reason why women aren't in the industry. Numerous academic studies have talked about how, in fact, women are better managers, particularly risk managers, and we tend not to invest with an ego. So the talent is clearly capable within women of investing in the industry. So a number of issues. I've been in the industry for 34 years. And when I first started in the industry, there was very few women in the industry. So there's very few role models to be supportive of women, or a sense of, gee, that's a field for women overall. Another issue is a topic that I'm actually uncomfortable about speaking about, because 34 years ago, talking about sexism in the industry, and back then it was a little bit more overt than it is today, was career suicide. But clearly there is subtle forms of sexism present in all walks of life today, and still in the industry to a certain degree. But it's a little bit undercover because it's a bit politically incorrect. When I was working for a large global asset management firm, and I was in the senior leadership team, and we were replacing the CEO of the organization, I watched and witnessed the owners of the firm choose to pass over an incredibly talented woman for that role and went for a male candidate because they felt they knew how to deal with his limitations, but they weren't as certain about their ability to deal with her limitations because as a woman, she was somewhat unknown. It was considered to be more of a business risk in their opinion. And so I think that is one of the subtle issues that is still present today, but that can be overcome if we're conscious about it.
So International Women's Day is on March 8th, and this year's theme is Be Bold for Change. What kind of changes do you think we need to see in the investment industry in order to increase the number of women in portfolio management roles?
I'm actually somewhat supportive of the use of quotas, whether they're imposed by organizations themselves or government-imposed quotas. And I know that's somewhat politically incorrect. But when I did my MBA and I took organizational behavior, in those courses, there's lots of studies that showed in order to change people's attitudes, first you have to change their behavior. And that seems counterintuitive.
So your investment team at Sionna, it's nearly half women, half men, and that's pretty unique compared to some investment managers. Was that intentional? Was it important to you to have that structure? I'm assuming it is, but maybe you can elaborate on why it was so important.
It wasn't intentional at the beginning. And it just evolved that way. And I would have to say that now we've become actually fairly conscious about it. And we actually believe that greater diversity in a decision-making team, whether it's a leadership team, because our leadership team, our executive management team at Sionna is 3/4 women. Our investment team is 50% women. But we believe that diversity of all sorts, both gender, ethnicity, background, attitudes, approaches to life, all brings many different thought processes to the table and contributes to better quality decisions in the end, which we believe ultimately leads to better constructed portfolios and investment ideas that hopefully will deliver, and so far has delivered, good risk-adjusted returns in the long run.
So diversity is important when you're making your own investment team and your team at Sionna. But what about when you're when you're evaluating companies? Is that important, and does that diversity come into your investment decision-making process?
Well, I actually quite love your question, because earlier on in my career, and I still think it's relevant to a certain degree in Canada, is we used to look for firms with unusual CEOs. And from an ethnic or gender diversity, because they are still reasonably rare. And particularly in the small cap space, it meant they had more to prove, and often they did better, and they were somewhat overlooked and underfollowed, and that created an investment opportunity. But certainly when we look at the composition of management team and corporate governance, we're looking at those issues. They're part of the decision-making process. They're not a key decision maker.
And thank you so much for coming in today, Kim.
Thank you.
For Morningstar.ca, I'm Anam Siddiqui.